How do you do, everyone? You know who I am, your chief sloth operator, ET Templar, supreme misfit, professional dipshit. So, since the previous MKUltra or MK often video got 300 and something views, we're talking about more conspiracy with the CIA because for some reason our government has infinite wisdom to give a whole bunch of psychotic fucking freaks an unlimited budget with no oversight and think it's a good idea. So we're starting off big and we're starting off good. So grab some snacks, grab a drink, or if you're listening to this as you're playing a game or whatever, thanks for clicking in. So let's get started. The 1951 Pont-Saint-Esprit incident, alleged CIA LSD experiment. So, of course, infamous 1951 mass poisoning in the small village of Pont-Saint-Esprit, population of around 4,700 at the time, often called Le Pain Maudit, the cursed bread. On August 15th, 1951, over 250 villagers, about 5% of the population, suddenly suffered severe hallucinations, convulsions, paranoia, and physical symptoms like burning sensations in the limbs and digestive distress. At least 5 people died. Some sources say 7. Dozens were hospitalized with psychosis, and around 30 were committed to asylums for weeks. The outbreak caused chaos. People jumped from windows, attacked each other, and hid from imaginary fires or insects crawling under their skin. Holy crap. It remains to be one of the most bizarre medical mysteries in modern history. And of course, people theorize that the CIA is behind it. Maybe, but we're going to get into that here. So the official explanation, ergo poisoning from bread. Now, this is where we I don't know, this could be the more plausible answer, but I'm going to leave that up to you guys to decide. So initially, French authorities blamed contaminated bread from the local bakery run by Roche Brand. They concluded that rye flour had been infected with Cordyceps purpurea, ergo, a fungus that grows on grains and produces ergomine alkaloids, chemical precursors to LSD. So you might have just learned how to do something there. Can cause ergotism, known as St. Anthony's fire. Symptoms of ergotism include hallucinations, gangrene-like burning, which matched many reports. Brand was briefly accused of negligence, but later cleared. However, later analysis raised doubts that ergo typically causes faster onset, hours, not days. And tests on the bread and water supply were inconclusive. Some researchers pointed to mercury-based fungicides like panagen used on seeds, which could seep through sacs and cause similar neurotoxic effects. Evidenced by fluorescent strains on returned flour bags. Fluorescent stains. Okay, so could be ergo, could be mercury-based fungicides, but let's keep going. The conspiracy theory CIA LSD experiment. In 2009, American investigative journalist H.P. Albarelli Jr. reignited the mystery in his book, A Terrible Mistake, The Murder of Frank Olson and the CIA's Secret Cold War Experiments. I think Frank Olson, if I'm not mistaken, was involved with Fort Detrick and the development. There's a Netflix or a movie called Wormwood, where he was inadvertently poisoned with LSD and he revealed some information he shouldn't have, and they threw him out of a fucking building. The CIA fucking threw this guy out of the building to his death because he dared, said something when they fucking poisoned him with acid or LSD. He claimed that the incident was no incident but a covert CIA field test of LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide, a part of a mind control and biological warfare programs like MKUltra, which ran from 1953 to 1973, and MK Naomi. Key allegations. Project Span. Albertini cited declassified CIA documents suggesting the agency, in a collaboration with the U.S. Army's Special Operations Division at Fort Detrick, Maryland, dosed the villages to study LSD's effects on a civilian population. LSD was seen as a potential truth serum or incapacitation agent against Soviet forces during the Cold War. Method of delivery. Phase 1 allegedly involved aerial spraying of aerosolized LSD from a crop duster plane, similar to U.S. tests like Operation LAC. When that failed due to wind or instability, Phase 2 contaminated local food, especially bread, from Sandoz Laboratories, LSD's Swiss inventor, located just 100 miles away, which supplied the CIA. So clearly, you can see how people made the jump to the conclusion that this was a CIA poisoning because the CIA was already up to some fuck shit. With this, it's spraying LSD and even contaminating bread. So it's either one of two things. Either it's just this form of mold on rye bread, or it's pointing to the CIA. Again, I'm not going to say that, but it seems a little bit suspicious. Of course, so this is the evidence cited. A 1954 CIA memo referencing a conversation with a Sandoz official, the Pont-Saint-Esprit secret, is that it was not the bread at all. It was not grain ergo, but LSD's key compound. So this is a CIA memo referencing a conversation about that, saying that it was not bread, but it was LSD compound. So that's literally, that's a memo from the fucking CIA to a Sandoz official that somehow that evidence wasn't destroyed. Interviews with two ex-CIA scientists who work under Frank Olson, a biochemist who died suspiciously in 1953 after being secretly dosed with LSD himself. We spoke about that. They described contaminating local food products in France. So this is the CIA conducting illegal LSD tests on the French. A 1949 Edwidge Arsenal report urging field experiments with LSD, so again, testing it on troops. There's other weird shit they tested on American servicemen. A White House document ordering files on Pont-Saint-Esprit and Olson to be buried. So again, this CIA committing illegal things. Did anyone see jail time for this? Was anyone brought to the scales of justice? No, because it's the CIA. These people are long probably dead by now, I would assume, or silenced. Who knows? Albarelli linked it to broader U.S. experiments like dosing unwitting soldiers or civilians in the San Francisco brothels, Operation Midnight Climax. And that wasn't the only place, supposedly. At Woodstock, there was a LSD poisoning, but that's skeptical. It's probably... So let's get into skepticism and counter-arguments. While the theory gained traction in media, e.g. Ergo, BBC, Telegraph, ABC News in 2010, it's widely dismissed by experts as speculative. Timeline mismatch. The LSD effects kick in with 30 to 90 minutes, but the villagers reported symptoms after 24 to 36 hours, matching the ergo or mercury theory. No proof of dispersal. Aerosolizing LSD isn't feasible. In 1951, it degrades in the air. And why target an obscure French village? Historians like Steve Kaplan, author of Le Plan de Mandit, 2008 called it clinically incoherent and harebrained, noting symptoms aligned more with the ergo's vasoconstriction than pure LSD trips. Now, you can take these people to word for it, but you have to remember that the CIA does recruit from universities in Utah. I think Stanford is another one out in California. So you kind of have to remember that they do recruit from scientists in these like college. I'm just saying, take these people's word with a grain of salt, because I personally wouldn't trust these people. Lack of hard evidence, well, of course. Albarelli's sources are indirect memos, interviews, no smoking gun documents confirmed the CIA involvement. Kaplan's exhaustive review found no LSD traces favoring fungicide poisoning. But there was supposed a memo referencing conversation with a Sandoz official about the secret. So, unless if that guy lied about that, if the writer of that story lied about that, they would have killed him. Again, I don't know if the writer of that's still alive or if he died mysteriously, that'd be one thing to look into. But context to MKUltra. With real and horrific involving non-consensual dosing of thousands, including Canadians and prisoners, it officially started in 1953, 2 years after Pont-Saint-Esprit pre-MKUltra tests existed, but nothing ties them definitively there. The incident inspired books and documentaries, and even in 2008 French film The Mystery of Pont-Saint-Esprit. As of 2025, no new declassifications had resolved it, leaving it a staple of conspiracy lore, alongside MKUltra's confirmed atrocities. If it's not ergo, it's a cautionary tale of food safety. If CIA, it's a stark reminder that Cold War excesses. What expect intrigues you the most, the science or the spycraft? The issue that I have with it being the ergo or the mercury stuff is that if this was the same grain supply, right, I would imagine that France, that the same grain supply and grains would go to other parts of the country, right? So why is it that in this one town, like if this was a broader poisoning, I think there would have been larger cases other than this town of Saint-Esprit. I figured there'd be other contamination sites, and we don't really get that here. So that to me points that this is more likely, in my opinion, some kind of weird CIA test. But that's just my opinion. We read this. What's your guys' thoughts? Comment down below. Now, me personally, again, you have to keep in mind that a lot of the MKUltra documents, and probably even pre-MKUltra documents, were probably destroyed to cover up any real tests, legal negligence, or any shit like that. And of course, if there was people, you can bet the CIA either paid them off or wiped them out. That's my opinion. That's just my theory. Because if they're willing to throw Frank Olson's ass out of a 13-story building, which interestingly enough, the CIA during that time for their assassination manual was to throw people out of like windows and shit. So that goes along inside with a rash of suicides, and at the same time in 1953 of people being thrown out of buildings in Chicago. It wasn't just Frank Olson being tossed out of a roof. There's other evidences of that happening during that time. Now, is that all connected to the CIA? Were those CIA hits? Who knows? But it is a little weird how there is a outbreak of suicides involving people leaping from buildings or out of windows. We'll chop this video up. The next video, we will talk about a germ test and fog germ test, and that will be in the next one. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time. And again, chime in the comments down below your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button, like or dislike if you want. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. And I'll see you next time.
Money! We gotta make some money!
The sky